the biggest impact is whether or not they see you as a trusted source. That's number one what they're trying to do. That's what you have to understand. What these people, what these companies are trying to do. They're trying to protect their consumers.
Paul, thank you for joining me on our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Matt Camp, head of partnerships at DealMachine. And on these, we really like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, Paul, really hear your inspiring stories and have you educate our audience on how you see the world evolving. So today, really excited to welcome back on repeat guest, Paul Campo. You're a flipper, investor, marketer and copywriter, really focused on the real estate space specifically. I know you do great work with our partners over at Ballpoint Marketing called Porter, and that you're the founder yourself of OmniDrip, which is an off-market, really I would say follow-up system for off-market real estate investors who lack that systematic follow-up. So welcome on, Paul. Excited to have you back on, man.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Matt. Yeah. So we're
Yeah.
going to dive into we're going to dive into email marketing, a little bit of SMS for follow-up, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was going to say we had you back on for a specific reason. I know you are great at speaking to those two areas. It's something we hear often, especially with our features now of including unlimited free contact information with DealMachine. Like, our whole goal on our end is to kill the skip trace and to be able to come into DealMachine and have that contact info ready to go for you anytime you add a lead. So you get phone numbers, you get email addresses, you get all that right there. So we get customers asking often like, hey, how do we approach this? What do we do with this info? So I'd love to start, if you don't mind. I know you have expertise on both SMS and email. Could you maybe start on the SMS front? And I know if you want to maybe talk about your philosophy around SMS, how you think about cold versus warm outreach, like how do you think about the right approach? Like, just kind of give us your playbook would be fantastic.
Yeah. So I should probably mention we're talking about two fronts here. We're talking about
Mhm.
cold lead generation. You're contacting that lead for the very first time.
Mhm.
And then there's the warm where that person has inquired. They said, hey, yes, I'm interested. They're in your CRM. Uh, I would say that so OmniDrip solely focuses on the warm front of side of things.
Mhm.
So lead enters in your system, and you need a way to follow up with them in a systematic and valuable way. So it's emails, it's SMS, it's articles, it's what's being put in front of them frequently, consistently, where you build your trust, credibility, etc. So there's that. So we don't Omnidrive itself. That's our front. Our core focus isn't cold lead generation, though
Mhm.
I've built out personally some cold email campaigns for investors. Um, but because and the reason why is because the rules are different between the two. And when I say rules, I mean the principles, the strategies, and the tactics are
Mhm.
different for both fronts there. So for cold lead generation, you're dealing with a different problem. One problem is that both have this problem, but more so in cold lead generation, where you have the problem with spam, right? You have the
Mhm.
problem with things not being delivered and things going to spam. So on the SMS side of things, I'd say that's not really my wheelhouse, because there's been so much. I didn't generate leads via SMS marketing. My lead generation was mail and SEO, back when I was doing it heavily. But so I can't speak for SMS marketing. Things have changed so much. I say launch control, whoever's in the forefront of that right now. And since October, I mean, it's March right now, since October, November, when the crackdown came down, things have changed dramatically for investors using SMS. So I would say that's not my wheelhouse. But I will say this though: whatever you use for cold SMS, with the phone number that you use, don't use it for warm follow-up. That's like the biggest problem I come across with clients is they want to start following up. They got 20, 50 leads, new leads every month through different sources, PPC, PPL, and they're like, I can't keep up with following up with these people. So we plug OmniDrip in, which sends out in their CRM, it sends out SMS, email, etc., and they have undeliverables. Meaning their numbers, their phone number, their text messages are not going through. And come to find out, they're also using that phone number for cold blasting. And so I would say don't mix the two, because when it comes to cold lead generation, whether email or SMS, you're gonna have to recycle, right? Especially with email. I can speak for email, can't speak so much for SMS, but you have to recycle that email, that domain. You have to get new ones. So I cold email myself, business to business, and you have to buy yourself a different domain than what you use for normal day-to-day business practice. So if I have I have rei omnidrip.com, that's my domain that I own. If I want a cold email, I'm buying reomnidrip.com, for example, something very similar. Because after a certain amount of volume of emailing, of cold emailing, you're going to it's going to start the deliverability is going to start tanking, because Gmail, Yahoo, they start recognizing this is a spammer, and we're going to go ahead and just shove them into the spam box instead. So
Makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, so some best practices of cold emailing. One thing to know, and that's probably where you said a lot of people ask about that. They're coming in from
Yeah.
lead generation, right?
For sure. Yeah, I was going to say like that makes sense on the SMS front. On the email side, I would love to know how you approach that strategy. That's the other piece of this I really want to have you on for, was like, that cold versus warm, what's the right approach? Like how do I know those are two different philosophies. Like could you break it down on the email front, how to do this too?
Sure. Yeah. So cold emailing. This is how I approach it. This is how I see the best results. So a couple strategies. One, you have to know that it does take a lot of volume. It's a really low reply rate, reply back rate on these things. So it just takes a lot of volume and frequency. So, but to increase that the results start, it's important to layer your marketing touches and medium, so or media. So for example, I'm gearing up another campaign where we send out mail. This is for OmniDrip, by the way, just for
Mhm.
clarification. Send out a direct mail piece, then gets into a cold email campaign. The cold emails refer to the letter, right? So do the cold calls. They refer to the letter we send. We have something to touch to that we can connect with, something that immediately we can put in the subject line. Did you get our letter? Something that at least get that open, right? So I would say the first strategy point is layering different mechanisms to reach out to that person. Second, I always create, I shouldn't say always, but almost always, I aim for about 7 emails on a sequence. But I use instantly.ai for cold emails, because you can build out sequencing. So an email a day or email every other day, you load one bulk list into it and it fires away, right? So some tactics, some copy tactics for cold emailing. One is, this is where you have to be careful with trigger words, with flag words and stuff like that. So there's a whole list of them. Cash. It's you got to be careful with that, because you don't want to like pull a list up online and then try to eliminate everything, because then all of a sudden your email is just going to sound really watered down. There's not, or not going to be clear at all what it
Mhm.
means. So you got to kind of dance a fine line between that, and making sure you're not using too many, and making sure um, that you're still using effective and impactful language. So you got to dance kind of a fine line between those two. So there's no, it's more of an art than a science. Not like, oh, always remove cache, because sometimes it's really weird. Those emails still go through while others don't. It's the biggest impact, and this is going back to warm emailing. Okay, so this is where the rules differ, right? So a lot of people make the mistake of mixing the two, mixing the principles and strategies of cold emailing with warm follow up. Um, they start looking in fine detail about the words they're using when they're following up with people. Right, this is somebody you know already, or they should know you already. And the biggest impact when it comes to getting something delivered uh, to with your regular email address or your regular phone number is whether or not the carriers or the like Gmail, the email service platforms, they trust you or not. That's like 80% of it. That people get so caught up in like the tactical stuff and loopholes, like and what words to use. It's like that matters to some degree, especially with cold marketing. But in the
Mhm.
long term, in the long run, it's whether the biggest impact is whether or not they see you as a trusted source. That's number one what they're trying to do. That's what you have to understand, what these people, what these companies are trying to do. They're trying to protect their consumers, right? So they
Mhm.
don't want to send a bunch of garbage to their consumers. So they're always looking out for that stuff. They're always, is this person a trusted source or not? If it's, well, this person's a, if they'll ask, is, oh, this person is a it's obviously a promotional email, we'll send it to the promotion folder. Oh, this person is obviously a spammer, we're going to send them to spam. So it's not like they're asking it individually. They have these complex algorithms that look at this stuff, but number one is just, it's the credibility, the trust factor. I guess you can, I'm quoting trust factor here for things. And I don't know what they actually call it, but they have a certain score to your domain, to your, into your phone number now, that carrier is going to be looking at whether or not they trust you. So for warm follow-up, biggest things you can do to increasing that is, one, not cold blasting people who you've never spoken to. Um, Not tricking people into opening emails. I see this all the time, from like when I join an email list. They've heard somewhere from some guru that, oh, if you put the RE in the subject line as if you're replying, you're going to get a bunch of opens. Yes, true, you're going to get a bunch of opens, but you're also going to lose the trust of the people seeing that. And so yeah. Anyway, that's kind of some tactics, some rules to differentiating between the two. So.
Yeah. Do you think so on our end, the most common question we hear over and over again, and I know this is again, speaking more to the cold side, and maybe the answer is, hey, you don't use that, you use it, as a follow up tactic. But what would you recommend to our customers who, when they get all this contact info, they're using DealMachine, they add a lead, they get email addresses, maybe a couple per person that they add into there. What would you recommend in terms of 100% best practices they do with those emails? Like, what if you were using DealMachine to do that? What would you do to really optimize the opportunity there?
Well, you can. There's a couple things you can do. Uh, you can, at the end of the week, download that list and put it into a cold email sequence. You can do, if it's not a whole lot. This is, if it's not a whole lot of leads. If what'd you say is the average number that people are looking at every week as far as driving for dollars?
It's a great question. I mean, we have our list builder as well. So if you're using list builder, it's going to be a lot more. Driving for dollars, I mean, I'd have to ask my product team to put a specific number on it, but it could be anywhere from just from a handful to a couple hundred, and the list builder side could be up to tens of thousands if they're really really active. So.
Yeah, yeah. I would definitely put them in some kind of sequence or some kind of order of marketing. So whether it be, hey, send a mailer out immediately, which you can do with DealMachine, send out a mailer immediately, and then follow up with cold emails, referencing the letter back, like I mentioned earlier, right? Putting them on a 5 to 7 cold email campaign, and then cold calls in between, right?
Mhm.
That's and everything always referencing each other. If it looks like you're really trying to get a hold of them, the important part of all this is, one is, you're just looking for a seller, right? That's all you're trying to weed through. Look for somebody who's selling. So that is, when you have that goal in mind, you're writing the copy for the emails. That's what you're centering on. You're centering on whether or not they're actually selling. Hey, you came across your information. I don't know if this is a mistake, but checking to see if you're actually selling your property. Let me know if this was actually. I also want them to get back to me, to tell me if it's wrong information, or if they're actually not selling, so I can take them off of my list. Right, that's important too. So getting the reply is what I want. Getting the reply of a yes or no is what I want. Maybes, maybe I hate maybes, because then you're just like following up with the person. You're never getting any reply back. You're not getting any information back. But I want to get that reply. So that's important on the copywriting side of things. One, look at, so this applies to this. What I'm about to say applies to cold marketing, not warm marketing. But I am paying attention to open rates when it comes to cold email. I'm testing, I'm split testing, and I mentioned instantly.ai. You can split test really easily there. I am split testing different emails to get better opens, better replies. So I'm looking at opens, I'm looking at reply backs, that, and I'm usually getting my call to action on a cold email is getting a reply back. Hey, interested with a question mark. I just want them to reply back. So I'm trying different techniques, different ways of saying it to get a reply back. I don't really want them to link out because it's kind of it um, I do have a link like in the signature, but and I do have an unsubscribe link too. Instantly is going to ask for that, but I want them to reply back. So I want to start that conversation. So
Yeah. I'm looking up this instantly.ai. I love the cold email out. So cold email software. We'll make sure to link to that. But that's super helpful, man. I mean, that's really like, I know on our end, we get this question more and more just because we have so much data like this now. And, we can, if you're really, really good, I mean, you've got like demographic data you can tap into, property data you can tap into, get really custom with your messaging because of all of that. Right.
right, yeah,
So
I wouldn't. Yeah, so you can um, you can get kind of really nerdy about it and or geeky, I should say, about diving into the data and then maybe connecting the copy with it. But I wouldn't point out situations, right? If you got a
yeah, that's fair.
pre probate list, you wouldn't say, "Hey,
Right.
sorry for your
We told
condolences."
it.
It's that's
Mhm,
really weird. I mean, just like coming in from you don't know the person from Adam, and you already bringing up a situation they're in. It's
mhm,
so I'm coming in as a copywriter. I'm coming in just to ask if they have if they're a seller, and I would probably reference back some ideas for copy. I would again reference back to, hey, did you get our handwritten note? Hey, I've been trying to reach you about your property. I sent you a handwritten note. Just really want to see if you're selling your property. I came across it, and one thing that I would another thing that's very important for cold email: keep it short and keep it concise. Make it that so that they can read it in 2 seconds. If they can get the full gist of what you're saying and asking in 2 seconds, that's probably best. Eliminating words rather than increasing it for cold email. That's not true for other, that's not true for copywriting in general. Like, but for cold email writing, definitely I want to keep it concise and get the
mhm,
point across really quickly. Don't throw up all the benefits and features like, oh, we do this and that. You can sell all your own things. You cash offer, sell in 60 days or sell in 2 weeks. Throw all that out. Focus on probably just mention one thing that, in fact, if you're writing a 7 email sequence, each email can be just one benefit that's probably best for your market or best for that list. So if it's a distress list, your actual driving for dollars list, bring up the benefits that talk about that help a distressed house, right? The no repairs, things like that. Just bring up one in the email. Don't load it up with all these things. You have 6 other emails to load up with a different benefit if you wish.
Perfect, man. This is a great crash course. So Paul, really, really appreciate you coming on, being able to share this with us. We'll have to continue to get updates from you, on both sides of this, but it's definitely a timely question we hear often from our audience now that we've got all this data for them. So,
Yeah.
what's the best way people can get in touch with you? And I know the OmniDrip piece as well. Like if you want to highlight everything you're working on there, that would be great.
Yeah. So they can go to my website, reiomnidrip.com.
Hmm.
They can contact me straight from there. They can sign up, get some samples of our follow-up sequences, get a demo of the whole thing. We're working on what we're working on today because we're always updating. We're always trying to better our system, make sure our investors are getting the best results with their follow-up, better than what's being provided out there. And
Hmm.
so one thing we are working today is like what's called a re-engagement sequence. That'll probably be launched hopefully by middle Q2 is almost coming up, but probably by mid Q2. I hope to have that. Wait, is Q? Yeah, we're in March today, so we're working on re-engagement sequence where a lot of times we have new clients that have 1,000 leads in their database, and they got there because it's the typical process of an investor.
Hmm.
Investor is getting lead flow every week, every day, sometimes getting 100 leads per month. They're working on the leads that are like hair on fire, needed to sell yesterday.
Hmm.
They're working on those, and then the lead that ghosted them, or the lead that is on the fence, told them no to their offer, they get put to the side. months pass by, pass by, that lead doesn't get followed up with, you can consider that lead now cold, because they usually don't know who you are, they don't remember you. So you're just another cold investor reaching out. So with those leads, we're trying to create a re-engagement sequence that helps bring them back into the fold. OmniDrip helps that from happening. You know, a pile of dead leads. We help that, we prevent that, I should say, from happening. Um,
Mhm.
because we're following up consistently in a timely manner with value as well. That's important. Frequency and value put together. That's what follow up is about. But rather than just hitting them up in 3 months, asking, "Are you still interested in selling?" That to me is cold. Is no better than cold marketing. But anyway, that's what we're working on today. That's what we do at OmniDrip. So yeah, if they want to reach out, go to Paul, or they can send me an email, paul@reiomnidrip.com, or head to the website.
Perfect. We'll link to all that below with our other free resources down there. But Paul, thanks again for coming back on. Really enjoyed the conversation, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, to everyone watching again, this is Matt Camp with Deal Machine, and happy deal finding.